Mr. Carney, you ran a fear-based campaign focused on Trump, elbows up.
Did you practice that line?
I did, actually.
Why does Trump prefer you over Pierre Poilievre? Why does Trump say he makes you less? Are you kidding?
Color me surprised. Mark Carney did something that nobody saw coming earlier today. And also, something got me very fired up beyond containment. And if you want to know how the hell did the Liberals win this election, I would say this is going to be a pretty good summary. I'm Jasmine Lane. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment your thoughts down below. And a very weird announcement was made from the new prime minister, something that hasn't happened in this country in decades. And with that, we're also going to blow the hat off of the Trump derangement syndrome here in Canada. All that and more coming up for you today on Over Opinionated.
So what is your government doing to ensure the canola tariffs are treated with the same urgency by the feds as the auto and steel sector one?
Well, I can tell you that all of the Western premiers who have a large canola industry in their provinces, and that is regardless of political stripe, have raised it directly with the Prime Minister. It seems like it's a bit of a phony war. We've got a 100% tax on EV vehicles from China that no one's buying in order to protect an EV industry in Ontario that doesn't exist. And in return, we are seeing punishment on pork and canola in our Western provinces, which are products people do want. So I think the Chinese have been very targeted and direct in how they're trying to split our country up. And I think we need to revisit that. We obviously are going to have to find new markets for our products.
We had reported in our last episode how Stellantis was moving their production over to the U.S. due to Trump tariffs. We also got word today that GM is planning to cut shift at Oshawa, their plant there. 700 jobs are at stake. And it's really weird to hear Mark Carney in particular talk so much about this new economy as though we're creating one when we aren't. I mean, the facts are that Canada has come late to the game in almost absolutely every sector due to our policies, and the government has invested billions of dollars into things like EV plants that simply go out of business because nobody is actually buying them. And then the Trump tariffs certainly didn't help.
Ottawa does not share your values. Carney, he has extensive ties to China and the CCP, beyond the LGBTQ AIP, beyond the crazy taxation, beyond the liberalization of all social, cultural issues and removal of God from your country's town squares. He directly aligns himself with the CCP, ergo your Liberal government will. So the CCP, unlike what they tried to accuse the United States elections of being controlled by Russia. Remember that whole thing? CCP pushed online influence campaigns to get Carney elected. This is verifiable. This comes from the CBC, to be clear. In 2017, Carney met with Xi Jinping in private at Davos as China was trying to fight Trump in a trade war back then. Now, China is importing record amounts of Canadian oil to offset what's happening with the United States. And Carney has said that they need to open up relations more with China. So they want to narrow relations with the United States, open them up with China. And this is why the left will have to eventually implode. It's one thing to say, hey, we have a problem with the United States and, these reciprocal tariffs. It's another thing to say, Donald Trump is a fascist and he doesn't respect human rights. So we're going to align ourselves with China. It's not a moral virtue. That tells you it's about money. And the money, if you track it with Carney, is it's hair-raisingly scary.
We just got some breaking news from the Conservative Party that I will share with you after we kind of wrap up this story, by the way. But it's really interesting. Doug Ford actually posted a couple of hours ago saying basically that today's news from GM is incredibly tough for workers in Oshawa and their families. Goes on to say that Ontario remains a global leader in auto manufacturing, attracting billions of new electric vehicle and battery manufacturing investments. Companies from around the world are choosing Ontario because of our unmatched workforce, competitive business environment, and resilient supply chain. And then he also says, in the face of economic uncertainty caused by the chaos of President Trump's tariffs and tariff threats, we will continue to fight every single day to attract new investment. I'm sorry. In the face of economic uncertainty caused by President Trump.
On whether Doug Ford is a good enough conservative. Jamil Javani's not the only one who thinks that. I know that there are conservatives who work for the Ford government at Queen's Park who don't think Doug Ford is a conservative.
Buddy, our economic uncertainty was long before President Trump was re-elected. Our policies were probably one of the number one reasons why so many past investments into the country have gone cold, why they have pulled out entirely, why there has been billions of federal dollars and provincial dollars wasted on these projects. That wasn't because of Donald Trump. There were things like this that were closing and pulling out before Donald Trump. I mean, okay, sure, Ontario is attracting EV investment and GM is still kind of in Oshawa, but let's not allow Trump tariffs being the reason to distract you from years of layoffs, broken promises, and billions in taxpayer-funded corporate bailouts to keep these projects afloat.
And look, companies that don't adapt, including companies in the financial system, will go bankrupt without question. But also, there will be great fortunes made along this path.
If you have been watching this show for a while, you have heard me say this before. Just because you say something a lot doesn't make it true. Because this is actually the reality of trying to push everybody to EV and green mandates, net zero, which our prime minister that's his number one force, is net zero above all else.
But the costs of an unreliable power grid are even more grim. If Ottawa had its way, Albertans would be left to freeze in the dark. In the depths of a minus 40-degree winter cold snap, families would be bundled up in their winter coats while sitting down for dinner, a dinner lit by flashlight or candle as they wait for the rolling blackouts to move on to the next community. There would be no street lights working to light up your way home through the blinding blizzard as you squint to see the dimly lit brake lights of the car ahead of you. In the heat of summer, you would be left worrying if the groceries left in your fridge and freezer will spoil before the blackouts end. And hospitals would be overwhelmed by the influx of patients suffering from heat stroke while trusting that their generators keep the lights on for their life-saving equipment. And if you don't believe me, just look at what happened in Spain and Portugal just a few days ago. Protecting the reliability and affordability of our electricity is of utmost concern for our government because this is about protecting the lives and livelihoods of Albertans. And what did the feds tell us, Alberta, when we tried voicing our very real and serious concerns about these regulations? They told us, too bad, we're going to do it anyway. In fact, they refused to work with Alberta or listen to Canadians while developing their net zero electricity regulations. Do they really expect us to just freeze in the dark? Sadly, such uncaring arrogance is typical of this Liberal government.
Now, our parliament has been pretty much completely shut down for about 9 months now, and it does reopen at the end of May, but then it closes almost immediately after for summer.
We will begin to set out that new path for Canada with a new cabinet to be sworn in on the week of the 12th of May and the recall of Parliament on May 26th. We will have the privilege of welcoming His Majesty King Charles III, who will deliver Canada's speech from the throne on May 27th. Her Majesty the Queen will join this visit. This is an historic honor which matches the weight of our times.
So this is going to be the first time in decades that the king or queen is doing a throne speech. That just does not happen. And while, of course, liberal Canadians and mainstream media are like, wow, oh my gosh, this is so historic and amazing. Could you imagine how differently that would be spun if this was Pierre Poilievre, perhaps, who announced that the king was going to be joining for the throne speech? Because I'm willing to put money on the fact that the narrative would then be something crazy about like old white elitists and whatnot. And it just goes to the insanity, the absolute hypocrisy that is left-leaning politics in Canada today as we know it. And while it is incredibly annoying, the theatrics of Mark Carney, the narrative pushing, the propaganda, oh, see, look, he's so well connected, we made the right choice, Liberals. I am actually quite surprised, not annoyed, surprised by this statement that Mark Carney gave.
I've already indicated to Mr. Poilievre that if it's the decision of him and the Conservative Party to trigger, if I can put it that way, a by-election, I will ensure that it happens as soon as possible. No games, nothing, straight.
This is certainly the admirable thing to do, the respectable thing to do, the right thing to do. And it makes you wonder a couple different things. There's rumors floating around of, oh, of course he's going to do that because China's going to interfere in that election. Perhaps that will be the case. We don't know. There is also another school of thought, which is what I tend to think. And it reminds me actually of Lisa Raitt, who she was on this show not terribly long ago. And one of the things that she has said about the Liberals is that they get too arrogant. And, you know, if you want to judge by this, Gerald Butts, who was behind Justin Trudeau and pretty much behind every policy that absolutely destroyed the economy of our country. Gerald Butts works alongside Mark Carney's wife at Eurasia Group, though she has since been removed from the website. And he actually said that his view is very direct on this and that he asked for a mandate to do big things and got a mandate to do big things. And now I'm going to do those things. That is what he told G0media.com. And that's interesting because the Liberals won a minority government, not a majority government, and it was very tight. So is this perhaps just some arrogance? Could be. Or maybe they are going to pull some more dirty little tricks like the longest ballot group, which saw 91 independents. Not all of them were independent. There was 91 candidates. The vast majority of them were independents in Poilievre's riding, which actually, according to CTV News, they were bragging over declaring victory in Poilievre's former riding amid criticism, which I guess election interference is now celebrated in Canada versus being criticized and, I don't know, illegal, maybe?
Worst of all, Poilievre lost his own riding, Carleton, a seat he has held since 2004. He lost his home, salary, budget, staff, transportation, and his status as leader of the official opposition. Why? Because of a riding redistribution in 2023 that added Canada Carleton, a Liberal stronghold. That should have been anticipated and handled. It wasn't. And that's on his national campaign manager, Jenny Byrne. I know Jenny Byrne is powerful. I know I'm taking a risk saying this, but I don't care because she failed, period.
I actually met the gentleman who posted that video a couple weeks ago. Turns out we live in the same province. He is absolutely lovely and incredibly tall. But we have some good news, Conservatives, because Damien Keurig, who actually won this past election with 53,000 votes, 81.8% of the vote went to him, has announced that he will be stepping down in order to let Pierre Poilievre run in his riding, which is in Battle River, Crowfoot.
You have MPs that have told me that they found it really difficult going door to door because a lot of people were saying, we like some of the policies you're doing, but we think your leader's a dick. And we, really. And we think he is, you know, I'm sorry, but that's what they're telling me.
All right. I'm going to have some ombudsman's paperwork to fill out before I go home tonight, I think. But yes, not in such language, but I have heard similar sentiments expressed from conservative candidates.
So that is our mainstream media, everybody, that your taxpayer dollars fund, and they claim to be unbiased. I honestly think that legacy media absolutely shaped this election. And you may think that there's not a lot of people who watch, and that is true. But the influence that they do have, the money that they do have, the way that things get clipped and shared is very powerful, especially because legacy media in Canada is viewed as a trustworthy source to some, and it makes people just think that they're getting the whole side of the story when they are not, period. I wanted to show you this, which was actually sent to me earlier today, and it made me mad, but I'm going to try not to go off too bad here. It says, if you voted Conservative and already hate Mark Carney, take a breath and ask yourself why.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary.
How did it happen that you harbor such a strong emotion against someone who, up until this point, has likely only done things you like? I'm sorry. Like what? Like carbon taxes, like net zero, like, you know, all of those violations and things happening with people overseas, like shutting down pipelines and then also buying pipelines in other regions. Alrighty then.
He is a man who has planned in writing, not least in his best-selling book, Values, the complete destruction of the fossil fuel industry. Bye-bye, Alberta. if that's not bad enough, and it is, he's also simultaneously an advocate of the same post-national view of Canada defined by Trudeau Jr. and his moralistic minions.
He replaced Justin Trudeau. He was selected by Justin Trudeau. He got rid of the carbon tax. Pierre Poilievre got rid of the carbon tax. He has promised middle-class tax cuts, just like the Liberals did. And weird, because when you promise middle-class tax cuts, but then you also promise, what is it, like $250 billion in spending, guess where taxes go up? Guess what costs more money? From my perspective, we have just elected a center-right government led by a well-respected economist who may well be the most knowledgeable leader in the Western world, who was appointed not once but twice to be the top banker of 2 separate nations by 2 very right-wing governments. He was educated in 2 world-renowned universities and who currently has no scandals to his name. Well, that just goes to show that you, my dear, have not researched him at all. All of that, I could go off so much, but for real, everything about this is like you only know the mainstream media talking points about him. Ask yourself how you came to a headspace where you abhor someone who is by all measures, a progressive conservative. Huh? Why do you have a high level of antipathy towards someone who you likely agree with in all but the color of the flag he chose to fly? Excuse me. Oh gosh, but then it just gets so much better. Ask yourself how much money had to be invested by political interest to get you to feel already such strong emotions against someone you would have supported strongly under a different color or banner. If you are filled with anger, I can tell you it is an anger that someone spent a lot of money to make you feel.
In studio, Rob Russo, writer for The Economist, former parliamentary bureau chief for CBC, Robert Benzie, Queen's Park bureau chief for the Toronto Star, Kathleen Petty, host of CBC's West of Centre podcast.
Honestly, just flip the script. I just want you to flip the script. I want you to take a listen, just rewind back to that CBC clip and just flip the script, please and thank you. Because this is next level gaslighting. This is absolute manipulation. It is absolute dishonesty. And it is no wonder why so many Canadians feel absolutely trapped and hopeless in this country. And if you think Mark Carney's a great person who you would normally like, I hope you read his book. I do. I hope you research past the second page on Google about him. I hope you go and read how respected he is in other circles, because it is not the same as how Canadian media is portraying him. And do you want to know why Canadian media is portraying him that way? Well, I don't know. Probably because of the over $1 billion that the government, the Liberal government, promised to pay the CBC.
The new Prime Minister is a whole new level of climate zealot and eco-extremist. From his decades-long push for net zero banking that sought to make it impossible for banks to invest in oil and gas, to his promise now to massively increase carbon taxes on our industry, make no mistake, he wants to eviscerate our oil and gas industry. It's right in his book. In Canada, our national identity, unity, our freedom, and our future are at a monumental crossroads.
But I will say there is some hope in the fact that Pierre Poilievre is not going anywhere. Despite what the media is trying to tell you, he is not going anywhere. He posted this just now. It is with humility and appreciation that I have accepted Damien Curick's offer to resign his seat. Damien's selfless act to step aside temporarily as member of parliament shows his commitment to change and restoring Canada's promise. I will work to earn the trust of the good people of Battle River, and I will continue to hold the Liberal minority government to account until the next federal election, when we will bring real change to all Canadians. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Subscribe, follow, like, and comment your thoughts down below. Seriously, obviously, the Liberal machine is very much not in our favor here on the conservative side. So anything at all that you can do to increase engagement and help YouTube and other platforms push out this content is so unbelievably important. And it really does make such a big difference. And I will talk to you tomorrow.